Welcome to a special episode of the Cycle Podcast, a show where we cover 4 trending MLB topics, in this case, World Series topics, in 20 minutes or less. We are joined by Josh A.K. Kablumski, who lost a bet and is now wearing a Kansas City Royals hat. Josh, congratulations on the new attire and upgrading your fandom, if only temporarily.
Yeah, I'm just happy that blue looks good on me. You know what I mean?
It does.
So anything that looks blue is going to be good on me. Listen, I'm pumped to be on this show. World Series, we got some good topics to talk about, and I'm ready for the show.
Let's run into it. We are currently in the top of the 6th inning in Game 5 with Toronto leading 3-1. With that, let's talk some Blue Jays. Slight mistake in the intro. I said we are starting off with the Blue Jays, but we're going to start off by recapping the first 4 games of this World Series. Then we'll get into the Blue Jays. In Game 1, the Blue Jays win 11-4 on the back of a huge 6th inning. The Dodgers bounce back in Game 2, 5-1 on the back of a Yamamoto complete game, his second such start of the postseason.
Beautiful.
In Game 3, LA wins again in what is immediately a classic. An 18-run game capped off by a Freddie Freeman solo shot to walk it off. And then in Game 4, Toronto takes it 6-2. Josh, before I go into a little bit of my analysis, what is your biggest takeaway from the first 4 games of this series?
Big moments, big games, giving the fans what they've been asking for in the World Series. I think that this World Series kind of took a lot of people by surprise by the big time plays and moments that it's brought us so far. So I'm just happy that it's a good series so far.
Absolutely. So speaking of those big moments, my personal favorite, the Addison Barger pinch hit grand slam, a sport that has existed since the time of the Civil War. And it is the first pinch hit grand slam in the World Series in the history of this great sport. Of course, that contributed to that 9-run 6th inning we talked about. We've got the Ohtani 2 home run, 2 doubles in Game 3. Of course, he was walked 5 times. Very Barry Bonds-esque. I don't care who's hitting behind you. We are walking you the rest of this game.
Exactly.
And then, like I said, the Yoshinobu Yamamoto complete game. We don't see complete games ever in baseball anymore, let alone in what is a very important World Series game where you're trying to avoid going behind 2-0. Dave Roberts just didn't take him out of the game. They had Sasaki warming up, but nonetheless, Roberts kept with Yamamoto. Now, before we move on to the the Blue Jays, let's talk a little who's hot. So far, with the last 30 seconds or so, up to this point, who is your World Series MVP?
If the Dodgers win, you have to say Shohei, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the Blue Jays win, it's a toss up. Vladdy has taken them like on their back, being the face of the franchise, doing what he's doing most. That's such a big home run there. But Savage to me has to be talked about as a pitcher as well, being part of the first game and then now pitching tonight. So I think it's something that's still up in the air for the Blue Jays. But if anybody's going to take it, it's going to be Ohtani for the Dodgers for sure.
Here's a sneaky one. A guy who hasn't made a ton of noise, maybe because he's just so small in stature. Alejandro Kirk, in 14 at-bats, has 5 hits, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 4 walks. His OPS, 1,200, leading all players on the Blue Jays. Slugging 786, batting 357. I think there is a legitimate case for Alejandro Kirk to be the World Series MVP if the Blue Jays win this. That would be, what a story. A guy that people love. Yeah, people love him because he's little. He's a little bit round. He's not real fast. And there's always been this sort of Alejandro Kirk's the best player joke going on. kind of like Brian Scalabrine in the NBA, where people root for him almost because it's a funny thing to do. Because he doesn't look like a professional baseball player, but here he
No.
is on the biggest stage carrying the Blue Jays quietly behind the guys who are making the big noise because of their big name. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Treya Savage, who we're going to talk about in the Blue Jays segment, his story. But so far, Alejandro Kirk might be the most important piece. And I would never root for the Blue Jays. Sort of a now out of the closet Blue Jays not fan. I'm not going to say I'm a
Right.
hater, but I'm certainly not a fan of the franchise. But it's almost given me something to root for. Alejandro Kirk, World Series MVP.
So can I just piggyback off of that real quick? I
Mhm.
was gonna say his name, but I feel like our viewers are just tired of me talking about catchers. So I'm so happy that you brought that up. So thank you for having my back, low key on that. But just real quick, can I add two things that
Go
are
ahead.
not mentioned that people need to realize? His at bats. You're talking 10 pitch at bats, 11 pitch at bats. He's working the count. He's getting quietly in these pitchers' heads because he's battling up there. And not only that, he's not going down without a fight, but he's getting on base. He's getting those little pesky hits that are dropping in the Bermuda Triangle. And it's amazing to see, number one. And the second point, too, is that throw out, when he threw out Otani, yes, I understand Otani came off the bag slightly, but people don't realize he threw a 1.5. Listen, to give viewers like somewhat of like an average, you want to be like around a 1.8, 1.9 at the pro level, like that's college pro level, is like
Are we
around,
talking
that's like the
about
average pop
home to
time.
first or home to
Home to
second?
second, home to
Mhm.
second, the throwdown.
Mhm.
1.8, 1.9 is where you want to be roughly, but still you want to be a little bit lower. The good ones are around 1.5, 1.6. Anyway, he threw a 1.5 down there, and just on the money. So overlooked on what he does behind the plate as far as his catching ability. So I'm so happy you brought him up. So
Good.
yes, shout out to
I knew I had
Alejandro
to pick
Kirk.
you up there. I had to pick you
Thank
up on
you.
that one. With that, let's move on to this time for sure a little more Blue
Yes.
Jays talk. Now, let's get into what has gotten the Blue Jays here. And it's such a difference from what the Dodgers have shown this far. The Blue Jays offense, Addison Barger, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, Alejandro Kirk, and Ernie Clement in this series are all hitting over 300.
Huge.
We talked about a stat before the show. The Blue
Mhm.
Jays have hit 7 home runs in this series. Tonight, they've
Right.
hit 2 solo shots.
Right.
The 5 home runs they hit between games 1 through 4, all of them multi-home run games. So this is a team who is known for the long ball, but what
Right.
they've been doing in this series is always striking when there are runners on base. And then I made a TikTok saying that I thought the most important thing for the Blue Jays was taking good at bats, being patient at the plate, and then
Huge. Good call, by the
when
way.
thank you, when an opportunity presents itself, freaking pounce,
Right.
because you're not going to, if the Dodgers are playing their best, you're not going to beat them in a 9 inning game trying to score with them. Like 2 runs here, 1 run, 2 runs, 1 run, 1 run. Um, you've got to pick it up when you can. In game 1, which they won 11-4, they got 9 runs in the 6th. Take
Right.
away some of those 9 runs, LA could win that game. Game
Correct.
4, they won by 4, 4 runs in the 7th inning. And that has all, for the most part, come against bullpen arms. I
Right.
know in game 4, Shohei Ohtani came out in the 7th, and then the Blue Jays proceeded to hang 4 on him. In game 1, that 9-run 6th came from a combination of bullpen arms. We know the Dodgers don't have a good bullpen. When a reliever comes into the game for the Dodgers, one of their kind of front end guys, you've got to get him because
100%.
you have a much better chance in that situation than you do against Sasaki coming in on the back end or against one of those big 4 starters.
Right.
And I've just been really impressed with the Blue Jays brand of baseball in this
Correct.
series. a lot of starters stepping up. We saw a poor game out of Gossman, but Trey Savage, who we mentioned, started this year at single A, worked his way all the way through the minors, and then made a roster in the playoffs for a Blue Jays team that was first in the American League. And then he
Amazing.
was handed the ball in game 1 of the freaking World Series, and they went
Amazing.
back to him in game 5, which anyone who watches the World Series knows a game 5 when it's 2-2 is the biggest indicator of who's going to win a World Series. And
Essentially.
they trusted the rookie. So, Josh,
Yep.
I'll turn over to you. Anything I missed on the Blue Jays, feel free, take it away.
No, I think of course, you hit it on the head with everything that you said. I think a few points that I do want to bring up is that I want to give kudos to the John Snyder for kind of like controlling, not the narrative, but controlling the environment, not making the moment too big for what it is, and letting his team play the brand of ball that they've been playing essentially all year long. I know we were talking about it off air. They haven't switched anything up, meaning when they are on base, like you mentioned, they're taking advantage of those situations. I also, and coming up big in the big time situations, and the big time players coming up big in those situations as well. So I think that, John Snyder's really controlled, the crowd noise in that locker room and really made it, essential to what they are used to. Don't switch nothing up, play your brand of ball, and let's go out there and just see what happens. So I want to point that out. The second thing is when you talk about the big time names carrying the team and stuff like that, you have to really point out the fact that George Springer now is hurt. He was a big, big, big factor getting him there to the ship, and then also playing a factor in a few games. But still, him being injured. Bo Bichette kind of like fills in that next role. So I mean, it's interesting to see. I like where they're at with Savage. You talk about his story. Kudos to him. Anytime you see somebody coming from the bottom, literally through the ranks and start, like you mentioned, game 1 is just impressive to me. They run into a juggernaut, but I feel like they got their feet on the ground and they're not backing down. And it's very interesting to see as a spectator of the sport and a fan to see the underdog really taking that fight on. And I'm interested. Yes, big time game is game 5 that's going on right now. I do want to mention to kind of like segue into the next subject. The Dodgers are not going to back down. So the Blue Jays really have to really, come together and come to the grips that they're going to go the distance with this mentally and see how far it goes.
Absolutely. And if the Blue Jays are to win this series, we will have a lot more to say on John Schneider because there are a few things about him I do want to touch on that we just didn't have time for. So stay tuned for that in our next episode, depending on which way the rest of this goes. Let's move on to the team who is disappointing most of us, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think it's time to start this third segment that both of us eat our humble pie. Josh, you picked the Dodgers in 4. I picked the Dodgers in 5. Here we are in 5, and it's looking like the Dodgers are going to go into Toronto down 3-2 if this holds. So on my notes here, I like to take notes. I've got a lot of negatives about the Dodgers, so I'm going to try to run through this quickly. Dave Roberts' bullpen management has been abysmal. He used Trinan in Game 3 for 0.1 inning. 0.1 inning. He got 1 out, gave up 3 hits and an earned run. In Game 4, used him for 1 out, gave up 2 hits. Anthony Banda, Game 1, 2 outs, gave up 3 hits and 3 earned runs. Game 3 in that marathon, Roberts only sent him out for 1 out. Game 4, came in behind Ohtani, 2 outs, 1 hit, 2 earned runs. In Game 4 in particular, I'm not going to say anything about bullpen management in that 18-run game because at that point, you're just throwing people out there trying to finish the game out. But in Game 4, when you pull Ohtani out in the 7th, you still have a chance to win that game. Blake Trinan can't get anyone out. Anthony Banda has not shown the ability to lock it down. But you've got guys like Justin Robleski, Will Klein, and Roki Sasaki who have shown the ability to get people out. And Roki Sasaki has only pitched 1.2 innings. He only went 1.5 innings in that 18-inning game. Why not give him a shot last night? I mean, you let Anthony Bonda go out in game 3, then you put him back out in game 4. Why not give Sasaki another chance?
I agree.
The Dodgers were playing poor defense. We saw on Dalton Varsho's triple in this game was a misread ball by Teoscar Hernandez. We saw Mookie Betts botch a double play in this game. Earlier in game 2, we saw Freddie Freeman drop an infield pop-up to allow someone on base. Obviously, that didn't hurt him. They won that game. I'm just not used to seeing that from the Dodgers. Right. Then, the Dodgers role players, who we said the Dodgers have this ferocious lineup of top to bottom guys that can hurt you. Nobody has been hurting anybody other than Shohei Ohtani and maybe Freddie Freeman for one at bat in game 3.
Right.
Kike Hernandez, Max Muncy, Tommy Edman, Mookie Betts, Andy Pages, all hitting below 200 with 15 or more at bats. Ohtani is the only Dodger in the World Series hitting over 300. So you go from this murderer's row, no breaks if you're pitching against the Dodgers. There's no weak spots. Right. To walk Ohtani and then just get the next 3 guys out because nobody else is threatening right now. Obviously, Freddie Freeman is one of the greatest baseball players of our generation, but in this series, he's really had that one at bat. Mookie Betts has been abysmal in this series. Doesn't look like he knows what sport he's playing. And I believe he was the final who's hot of the regular season. Yes, he picked it up, and you were saying great baseball players get hot at the right time. Mookie Betts is going to be a problem in the playoffs. His problem is for the Dodgers, not for his opponent. Sorry, this quick little play here. All right, Josh, take it over. That's been a little rant on the Dodgers, who have let us down prediction-wise. So I'll give you a chance to speak your piece.
Yes. The role players, to me, I thought that's what really was coming down to. Ohtani obviously is Ohtani, unicorn, but it is what it is. Betts, Mookie's going to figure it out. I truly believe he's one of those players like Freeman that comes up big in those big time moments. My thing is, like you mentioned, the Kike Hernandez of the world, the Max Muncy's of the world. Those are the guys that I'm looking at, both who have hit home runs this series, but I need more consistency, right? Also, you talk about what Dave Roberts has done in the bullpen. Sasaki needs to be used way more. You're talking about somebody who has prepared for this moment. Like you're talking
and
about
has been stretched out as a starter. He can start. He can go 3 innings.
Already has done that. I think that what plays a factor in his case might be his age, but I don't care right now. I think he's proven that he can probably handle this and give him a shot at this point. So I think you're right.
He's pitched big time games in Japan before.
Exactly.
He's pitched in the World Baseball Classic.
So he's done it. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know what more. I don't know what more excuses to have, but he needs to be utilized more. And also the bullpen. You mentioned how they're being utilized. Yes, you are right about that. But also, when you mentioned those numbers, you talk about the walks that they've given up. Those are walks that, come in 2-out situations, or it's either 2-out walks that come back and kill, or the inning, the beginning of the inning coming in and getting that initial walk. So walks kill. You cannot defend walks. So that's something that they need to buckle down as a whole for the bullpen if they're going to be take this into 7.
Yeah, I just want to look at one thing real quick. Before we wrap this, I want to look at in the playoffs so far. Emmett Sheehan, reliever, 3 walks. Will Klein, 2 walks. Anthony Bonda, 1 walk. Roki Sasaki in his 1.2 innings did walk 2 guys. Luckily, those weren't the ones that killed. It was Emmett Sheehan's walks that kicked off that 9-run sixth. So for two guys who picked the Dodgers to win this thing pretty handedly, we're looking pretty dumb right now. So
Yep.
thank you, LA, for that. Let's move on to our renewed predictions. Give us a second chance. Stay tuned. To wrap it up, we're going to renew our predictions based on what we know now. All the experts were picking the Dodgers in mostly, I think it was predominantly 6. I saw a stat was all baseball writers' predictions. Very few picked the Blue Jays at all. Most people picked the Dodgers in 6, and with that, Snell's being pulled out of the game. The Blue Jays are going to win this game from the looks of it. Knock on wood. I don't want to jinx anybody. And if that's true, the Blue Jays are going to win it in 6. Yeah. They're going to go back into Toronto at home after going to LA 1-1. I don't think a lot of people are expecting it to get back to Toronto, let alone to get back to Toronto with them up in the series.
Correct.
I think they say, I don't want to see any part of a Game 7. Because in a Game 7 against the Dodgers, that is when the Mookies and Freddies and Ohtanis show up. I think they want to close it out in 6, and they would have Kevin Gausman on the mound, I believe. That is who they want in that situation. I see that being a difficult game for the Dodgers to win. I'm going to go officially Blue Jays in 6. I think the smart pick is still Dodgers in 7 because it's not out of the question that they go into Toronto, fight back, get to Game 7, and let the Stars take over. But man, winning 2 games in a row in Toronto, a city and a country that is starved for a World Series, that crowd is going to be electric, out of control.
Yes.
And that is a tough environment to win in for anybody, especially if you were the team who was expected to close it out at home. And if you didn't close it out at home, you were expected to go into Toronto with a lead and just have to take one of them. I don't think anybody expected the Dodgers to go into Toronto for Game 6 and 7, both in elimination games. That's just me. Josh, I'll let you make your new official prediction because no longer can the Dodgers win in 4.
Yeah, that's not happening. And coming off the heels of calling us experts because we all picked the Dodgers, I'm like, man, he calls us an expert, and I picked them in 4. So that goes to show you how much I know, right? I'm sorry. I just keep on looking at this hat and realizing how ugly it looks, but at the same time, how good I make it look. So I don't know how to take it. But anyway.
You're welcome, by the way.
Appreciate you. I hate that I lost that bet, by the way. It's tough to go against the Dodgers, especially seeing this game. I have to go with my gut, and I'm still sticking with the Dodgers. Dodgers in 7. I think you're absolutely right. That stadium, that arena, whatever you want to call that place up north, is going to be electric. You're absolutely right. It's going to be a tough environment to play in. But you're talking about if anybody's built for that, if any roster can handle that type of pressure and or environment, I think you got to put this roster up there as far as, which roster can handle it. From top to bottom, veterans have handled this situation before. I think that the Dodgers have what it takes as far as when you talk about the experience. But the Blue Jays are not. It's not going to be too much of a blowout. It's going to be a hard fought match throughout the rest of the World Series. It's going to come down to key plays as far as the pitchers and pitching is concerned. And the fact that a Tampa native, shout out to Barger, already has made an impact. I think that somebody else like that is going to have to be make a name for themselves. When you talk about the role players coming up, the smaller names coming up big.
Max Muncy, get that extension. Get that extension, Max.
If that's what you want. But I think the Dodgers are taking on that role of the villain role. As I look on the camera and I see the KC, I think of the Chiefs and the Chiefs took on that villain role. Like, yeah, so what? You guys hate us. We're just gonna continue to win. I think that Dave has that charisma about him and that characteristic about him where he's kind of in that same mindset where and the team is feeding off of that, where we don't care what you guys think. We know we got a stacked lineup. We're going to do what we came out to do, and we're going to finish the job. So I truly want to believe it. I'm still sticking with the Dodgers. I'm wearing blue. Unfortunately, it's KC, but it is what it is. So Dodgers in 7.
Hold on. Pass ball. Blue Jays 4-1.
Jeez. 4-7.
Dave Roberts brings in Eduardo Enriquez and Naoki Sasaki in a 7th inning.
That's what I'm saying.
Where you can't allow any more runs if you want to get back in this thing. And a guy who's pitched 2 innings the entire postseason is who you go with. Runners on 1st and 3rd with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming up.
I'm late. I'm late.
It's okay. You know what? Let's wrap this thing. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I got to lock into this game. Josh is going to lock in this game. We will see you after the World Series for our final episode of the year. Before we turn this show over to our football show. Make sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, give us a like. We'll see you next time.